Okay, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Did you guys have a minute to review the minutes from the last meeting? I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting? Opposed? Minutes are approved. We're going to move into EMA discussion. I don't really have anything for him at EMA. Matt, do you have anything that you want to add?
Nothing else we didn't discuss in the last meeting. We'll just be working on the EVOP next month.
Okay, okay. And then we can move on down to EMS reports. In the monthly reports, we can just go over this. I'm sure you can all read, but we'll just go over it. The number of calls was 119. This is for January.
Right.
Number of persons transported 94, response time 7.2, transported to Trouser Medical 11, transferred from Trouser Medical 32, transported to other facilities 87. Is there a reason why there's more transported to other facilities instead of Trouser Medical?
Level of care needs for the patient.
Okay. The billing and the collection, that's all there. Y'all see those numbers? Y'all have any questions about his reports? Members? You guys see the financials for the budget numbers? Y'all have any questions? And then we have the write-offs, broken down again just for for this fiscal year to date. I want you to skip to the next page, and this is a list of the specific reasons why they were written off, and the resolution that's on here where it says resolution and it was written off. Can you explain that to me?
The part, I'm sorry.
Where it says resolution and then it has an amount for,
Those amounts will apply to whoever mailed back in their paperwork saying they were either couldn't do it or the.
so that's what the write-off resolution.
Right.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
While we're on this page, I just wanted to comment on the Fox Collection Agency. It's Fox, right? That's what it says. Okay,
Fox.
and so they get 30% and they only collect 7.4%.
What she said.
And there's no way that we can get a different collection agency or try to get that up. Is that a standard number?
That I could not answer. I don't know what the standard collection rate or something like that would be. I mean, obviously we were open with different collection agencies, but I feel like it's probably, they're just not gonna pay the bill regardless of who the collection agency is. I don't know if they're only concerned about their credit rating or anything, but I don't know what I couldn't tell you what a common collection rate would be. We probably
Okay.
call around some other agencies and see what their rates would be.
It just seems to me that we are leaving a lot of money on the table with the write-offs.
Some of them can't help, like the insurance stuff, that's the biggest one. It's-
No, for certain, I agree with you. I have proposed in here, there is a resolution for, to change the write-off policy. Mr. Beller, let me know that you had a problem with this, that you thought it kind of contradicted what the ordinance that's already in place.
Potentially,
He is of the opinion that we should probably come back with an ordinance, so I'm gonna take this off we can discuss it if you want. We just need to come up with an ordinance for to amend the existing ordinance instead of a resolution. So
About the billing waiver.
yes, the billing waiver, the waiver policy, all of that.
Yeah.
And my only thinking on that is that we provide a little bit more oversight so that things are not written off as much, or at least I'm not saying that they are writing it off badly or doing things that they shouldn't be doing. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just providing, wanting oversight.
Yeah, I mean, the comptroller's office has always agreed with everything we've written off. We never had any negative feedback from them.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll go ahead and strike it.
yes. Well, I mean, we talked about it, so.
Got it.
Okay, and then your ambulances. Do we want to talk about it?
Okay.
I happened to see a petition on Facebook today about,
That's all it-
Saw that too.
yeah, I don't, we want to talk about that? Sure. Yeah,
Sure.
do you have something to say about it?
When I was running for office, of course, the mayor hears from everybody, okay, you do. And it became apparent to me that a number of people would prefer that our ambulances be more consistent with what the local ambulances is around Middle Tennessee. So I looked into it and found out that once a color pattern is approved by the state, you have 12 months to conform with all your other ambulances, okay? Which I'm not sure that's been done yet or not, but anyway, I contacted the state about it and they told me that if we wanted to go back to the original pattern, it would be easy to do. As a matter of fact, they gave me clearance to do that. So, what brought it up was when I received a PO from Mr. Beatty, and I held on to it because I wanted to look into it before we did that. So presently, I've been given the okay by the state to go back to a white, orange, blue pattern. And obviously, Mr. Beatty disagrees because he's taking it to Facebook.
So I did not take it.
It's on your
I
page.
shared it, but I did not create it.
It's on your page.
It is, no, I don't argue that, but I did not create that.
Who generated it?
It doesn't say, it says,
Concerned citizens.
oh, okay.
Is all it says,
Hmm.
created by concerned citizens. All it says.
This is not me.
So
I did it, I was certainly.
someone had to share it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where I saw that.
Someone had to share it because the only person that knew about it were Mr. Beatty and me. And I didn't.
I told my people that we were gonna be going back. I think it was a secret because we're on. Hanging back, we didn't even see it.
You know, I think it's gonna cost $5,000 to change the color pattern on the next one, and we've got one that's in production that we'll have to get word to them for that, so.
And it's saving money by it. We're not gonna have to paint the rest of them.
Correct.
Well, the other one's already coming that way.
We'd have to change. It's already coming which way?
Great. We weren't gonna have to paint it, it was gonna be delivered.
Well, the last time we talked, it was still in production, though, was that?
Right, yes, sir, but it was gonna come, we weren't gonna have to pay
Oh,
to paint it.
well, you have.
It was gonna come.
Pay it.
That color, okay.
Anyway, that's where we are with that.
Okay,
I'm not real big on, letting Facebook dictate to me decisions I make. I think more in terms of what's for the public good and that, public be able to recognize immediately what an ambulance is. An emergency vehicle, that's my opinion.
I have,
Even the purple and gold, you gotta change it.
Sir,
The purple and gold ambulance, you gotta change it too, or what?
well, you've all three of them either got to be purple and gold, or all three have got to be white, orange, and blue markings.
I don't think it's a problem with the purple and gold. I think it's more that it's black or gray. And it's hard to distinguish that it's an ambulance when it's coming at you. I myself have,
It's got lights and sirens.
I understand, but I don't even, sometimes, is that a wrecker or is that an ambulance?
I would challenge,
Station ad.
I would challenge all looking social medias across the board, across states, across the country, even in the state of Tennessee, and look at all the different ambulance colors. They go from different stripings to different colors.
But isn't the goal to be seen
You are saying.
black at night?
It's any color, it's a light, it's the whole
The
back.
striping and
Okay.
everything on the ambulance is what.
I think Matt would agree with you that the one we have now turned out to be darker than he had planned on it being. Is that
We
true?
thought it was came a little bit darker than we expected, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a little darker, but I mean, it still represented the purpose for that. And I got no lies to tell you, I was involved in helping design that.
And I'm
And the
not
reason-
saying
and
it's
the reason
ugly.
that I was involved in doing that was because we wanted the citizens of this county, the schools here, to know that they had emergency services that supported them and was gonna be there for them, because you see other places do the same thing. Have a presence there. When you pull an ambulance up out here to a football game, you see an ambulance that says Trousdale County on it that has the school mascot on the side of it, representing the schools. People see that as proud. When that first hit the road out here, the amount of people that came up and said, that's a good looking ambulance. I can tell you personally from being there that was there, that happened on multiple occasions during the football season. When that ambulance was down here.
I don't think the color of an ambulance dictates what we support or don't support. I have had the public come to me and say, I can't tell that's an ambulance.
So there's a divergence of opinion on
There is.
this, and
Absolutely.
I'll be careful to hear what more people have to say, you know?
It's just something that you try to show support from the emergency services side. One of the things that you don't see a lot of is emergency services being involved in the school systems to help kids in their future.
Okay, so we will,
That's just part of the reason why we went through that process.
Well, I don't want you to take it personally.
No,
definitely not.
I'm just saying
None
that
of
was
this should be taken
that was the
personally.
purpose of that process. I was just,
So we were pretty proud of it.
I understand.
But when an ambulance, when you're driving down the road, you hear the siren, and you look over the other lane, and people are getting over it. You pretty much don't have to decide what you're looking at, you just know that something's coming up on you, you don't have to make no, if it ain't an ambulance, then what are you gonna do, just sit in the middle of the road, or are you gonna get over it?
All right, we're gonna move on to the payroll numbers. I just want to note on the EMS payroll, the overtime. It looks that you're at 79.8% of the year for overtime. At the last meeting, we discussed that you were fully staffed and overtime was gonna be cut back. Is that still?
Yeah, until we had, after the meeting, we had two people end up resigning and moving on to, one moved out east. The other one had some childcare issues that the job he left to come here accommodated him a little more easily with the scheduling.
Okay, so we're not fully staffed
So
now.
we're back to where we were.
And the ones, but you had new hires that you were potential new hires and they've come on board?
New hire, paramedic, guess kind of got a counter offer from his current job, so he's decided to see how that plays out before he makes a decision to come here, so. We got new hires and a part-time person that's coming in full-time, that's back to the same place we were.
Okay, so what are we doing to advertise open positions and
It's on,
They're-
being advertised on Indeed right now. I've had probably 4 or 5 responses, but they've all been EMTs. I really don't need any extra EMTs all that much. I need paramedics, and I spoke with a guy today that manages the private service, and he just had 3 paramedics leave, and everybody's just suffering trying to find them. I don't know what else they can do.
okay? Yeah. There's no like PRN solutions or part-time solutions, or
That funding. Positions.
we don't have funding? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I mean,
You don't have money in your budget that you could use
Well, I
payroll?
was told that we couldn't have one from the last mayor, so I think they fund about $12,000 per position, I believe, on the thing. That's trying to remember back in your head all the time. But,
Well, in an interesting turn of events,
you have to create that, those spots.
in an interesting turn of events, Mr. Beatty sent me one of his paramedics this week. I wasn't sure why a paramedic was being sent to me, but we had a lengthy discussion about overtime. And it was very enlightening to me because I saw a man walk in my office who just about burned out. Okay. At one time, back several months ago, he worked 8 24-hour shifts in a row. 8 24-hour shifts in a row. He has consistently worked 4 and 5 24-hour shifts in a row, which not only puts the county at risk if there's ever a wreck, but it puts his health at risk. And it made me take a different look at all the overtime that's being spent. And I have a meeting with Matt. I have Mr. Summers tomorrow, who is the other paramedic who's shouldering the load. And I'm not sure what that meeting's about, but they've been very insightful. I will say that at no point have they criticized Matt. They're overworked, and I don't know if it's my responsibility to fix this or not, but we're gonna have to get some more help. Even if we have to advertise for PRN at $25 an hour, it's to our advantage to pay that for a person who's not getting benefits rather than pay $30 an hour for like 208 hours of overtime in a 2-week period, which is, and I checked with counties around here, and most top paramedics top out at about $78,000, and we've got a couple on track to make double that this year. That means you can pay for a new ambulance in 2 years. So we've got to get this fixed. It just doesn't make sense from the not only from a financial standpoint, but from the standpoint of the health of these paramedics. I mean, the one I met with yesterday, I'm really concerned about him. He is burned out. I can see it in his eyes. I can see it in his body language. I can hear it in his voice. And so that's very concerning to me. Plus, if you work a 48-hour shift or 48 plus 12 or 48 plus another 48, and you have a wreck, and the investigators come in and check that thing out, we are toast. Interestingly, wage an hour doesn't have any real hard and fast rules on how much you take off, but WEMA and even Gallatin basically has an in-house rule. If you work 48 hours, you have to take 12 off. You have to get some rest. And I think we need to put that from that standpoint. I'm telling you, I worry about these guys. I'm not so as concerned at this point of how much money is being overpaid as I am their health and their family's health and the exposure the county has to liability. That's where I am as mayor.
Yeah, I feel like it's a position where the guy that stayed at his other job that was gonna come here would be interested in a PRN position. But I don't have. Others.
What about the deputy that's no longer here, his salary money that's still there,
What now?
the money?
Mark Carmen's salary,
That's an
that's
awful
in,
one.
it's in EMA, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. So it would be moving money from EMA to ambulance. It would be giving more money to the ambulance service.
I think in somewhere we're gonna have to be creative about
Absolutely.
attracting some more paramedics.
I think if we could move forward with a PRN list of some kind, even if it's only 5 people for the rest of this year, and then look at June, July area, expanding that a little bit more, we may be able to recruit some part-time PRN positions. That's what I would.
Well, I'll meet with Mr. Summers tomorrow, and then, man, I'll
I
get.
think it's more to talk to you, that's
Yeah.
all, it's nothing.
Well, again, it gives you so much more information as to how they're thinking of, in Mr. Gross's case, he has such a deep concern for this county that he's filling in all the blanks to make sure everything's covered. I mean, it's out of dedication to his job that he's doing it, but he's just spreading himself too thin.
I think we can all appreciate that he's doing that. I mean, of course, we all appreciate that, but he's spreading himself too thin, like you said.
Now, are we going to want to put it into a motion to move towards the main body to have the set time that once you work?
I think it's some point in time we need to do that.
I think we need to gather some more information and discuss it again next month.
Okay.
I have on here for the volunteer driver policy discussion. We discussed this sort of in the executive committee meeting and at the personnel committee meeting. Will, do you want to refresh us on that?
I will, Judge Bell said that volunteers would be covered under our current insurance policy. The way the policy reads right now is it doesn't say anything about a volunteer. It says an authority driver. That is a relatively easy enough fix. But one of the questions that came out of personnel committee was how often does this happen? Because it could happen once every quarter or once every 6 months, then that doesn't justify a policy change. we can act according to the existing policy. But if it's happening on a daily or weekly basis, then we may need to look at updating that policy.
And my question would be, why would a volunteer be needed to drive an ambulance?
You got a critically ill patient, and you need both of the attendants in the back to help take care of it. We just need somebody to drive to the hospital.
So that would, the volunteer would then have to come on scene and
Correct.
then take the ambulance.
Right.
And, okay,
Then we'll bring them back. To the scene.
What about getting a F endorsement?
Don't need it anymore.
Don't to drive an ambulance?
It's not required by state. Get rid of that
Yes, sir.
years ago.
I guess the question though is, the question still is the frequency in which it happens.
It's really hard to say. It's not incredibly often. Maybe a couple times a month. Yeah, it's really just all dependent on, and it's hard to dictate who's that sick that we need that assistance and. It'd be hard to. Like, I don't know if I could even search a. Even run a report and pull stuff like that. So the call types that they typically dispatch rescue for help on, I think there's like 5 different ones. CPR progress, respiratory distress. Yeah, any significant traumatic injuries like that. Seizures and diabetics, anything where it may require, or we think the potential that we may need a third person to drive us in. Because we have a significant respiratory patient, we gotta intubate them and somebody's got to lead back.
is this something that other counties have, a
Absolutely.
policy that other,
I don't know what their policy's rated. I've contacted Sumner County to ask them what they do. They got 12 volunteer departments in their county, plus the city departments. I mean, they're not county employees, none of them. And they drive their ambulances for them when needed, but I guess the policy, he didn't quote the policy per se, but he said we make every attempt to have a county employee if possible to drive. Otherwise, you know, if the need is required, we use the volunteer or city employee that's a firefighter to drive.
And we are, I've had discussion about making sure that people at least have the EMR to be able to go out to call.
That's what we're currently.
I just wanted to verify while we were
Even
all,
just the driver.
yeah, I just wanted to verify while we were all here that nobody that's doesn't have any type of license whatsoever isn't going out on the calls.
Correct, that's what we're doing.
Okay, we hadn't solidified that after,
Made that change after the last meeting.
yeah, I just, so it's on the record.
So,
don't go right ahead.
if I'm understanding correctly, the term volunteer would speak to a volunteer from previously in the personnel policy that states that it's a volunteer fireman or a rescue squad, correct? Is that what I'm understanding? It's not just, hey, I know Joe ain't doing that.
No, it's not.
You know, absolutely. One of those three departments.
And they have been running without having any type of like licensure for a while, so, we went ahead and said, hey, if you're gonna be out here doing this, let's have you go through, get some type of license.
But if I remember correctly from one of the committee meetings, the insurance said that it has to be a volunteer on either volunteer or the fire or rescue for it to be covered. So it can't just be anybody. It has to be a volunteer. Right,
They shouldn't even know we're there.
right.
You know?
Okay. Any more questions on that? Will, did that satisfy what you needed to be talked about?
Yep.
Moving on to fire. Unless anybody else has anything else on EMS.
Did
Okay,
we ever get a training schedule for EMS?
When was it? We do ours online,
All of your trainings online,
majority of it.
like CEUs, that type of stuff? Okay, so we had one for the other.
yeah, I'm gonna.
You don't have to go to a place, you know.
No, I'm gonna tell you.
Typically Vanderbilt comes by on occasion, they really kind of just say, hey, are y'all free next week or something, there's no real set schedule on those
It's
things.
still online.
And then the majority of it we do is just web based.
See that? Anything else on mine?
Anything else? Moving on to fire, the mayor has a announcement.
Um, effective yesterday, Chief Jay Woodard has resigned as fire chief. What precipitated it was, and we'll go to this in just a minute, we had the brush truck, wreck. And and you can turn over and see the estimates there, I've got a copy. The insurance company was kind of pressuring us to come up with an answer last Friday as to whether or not we wanted to purchase a new brush truck, which could go from a 450 to a 550 with a bigger chassis. And they were offering us $204,000 for the new one, to buy a new one, and we would have to pay another $30,000 to meet the cost. The other was, if you look at your numbers there, the insurance company had estimated $144,000 repair job and was offering to pay us $174,000. I did buy time on Friday to get a little more time. The insurance company was interested in whether or not we were having to pay a storage fee. So we had contact with the company in National and Dickerson Road that, and the estimate was based on photographs. Everyone with me? Not based on an actual visual. So we had a contact with the folks in Nashville and Kimberly. What are their letters?
PBS.
EBS. And asked them to come up and look at it in person. And so I asked them to come. While they were up here, Mr. Woodard came by and saw a crowd and felt like that I had slighted him by not even inviting him to that. And so he called me and he was rather upset. And we talked for a considerable amount of time, and he said that he just believed he would resign due to a number of things. And I said, Jay, you're upset and that's not consistent with your personality. Let's talk about this. Can you come by this afternoon and let's talk? And he agreed it was not consistent with the personality. He said, let's talk about this. So at 3:30 yesterday, he came by and gave me his letter and his keys. And I asked him 3 times if he'd reconsider, and he didn't want to reconsider. We agreed that I had seen growing frustration with him over the last 2 or 3 months, that things weren't moving as fast as he would like them to move as far as a transition from not only rescue to fire, but just generally in the transition of the fire department in the direction he would like to take it. And so he would not reconsider and he resigned. That's where we are with that. Is it EBS?
Yes.
EBS suggested that we go back to the insurance company and have Ford do a new estimate based on their observations. On the estimate, you can see on there, they had labor at $48 an hour. They told us Ford was more like $125 an hour. So they grossly underestimated the cost of repairing this vehicle. So that's where we are. I apologize to Jay for not having called him, but I was kind of under a time frame. We had talked in the past about our communication lines, but I don't think the event yesterday, it was more like the straw that broke the camel's back. I think he was frustrated about a number of things. So there we are. So we'll have to appoint an interim going forward. And I think if we appoint an interim, we've got 60 days to fill that position. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
Anyone know?
30, I think. 30.
You got 30?
I think the top.
Anyway, I'll look at the bylaws and see what that says and talk with our attorney. Any questions?
I think there was a little bit of confusion when all of this went down about a tanker maybe being used for this vehicle being, or a vehicle being parked up to the fire department, or a vehicle that was exchanged.
Oh, there were some vehicles moved around. There was a rescue vehicle moved down to the fire department and a tanker moved up to rescue at one point in time as we were moving forward with the rescue fire combining. Might have got a little ahead of ourselves on that, but And I talked that through with Jay about communicating through him with me, but. No harm, no foul. I just understood that the transition of taking rescue from EMS or under EMS to fire was going to take a considerable amount of time. It's something you just can't do overnight. There's a lot of bylaws and training that has to be done to make that transition. That's gonna take a while. Anybody got a comment on how the process
How long?
to get that done, to make rescue? Fire?
I couldn't even speculate.
I mean, I think it's a legal matter of bylaws and charter and the commission deciding that's the way they want to go. And I do think it's up to the commission and the bylaws and the charter to decide that, so.
The final decision, I think, would be.
Yes. So,
Any questions?
Okay, so have they been swapped back, or is there one that's gonna be used?
Yes,
They've been, and
the
then.
rescue vehicle has been taken from the fire hall and put back at the rescue.
and
this
the
one-
tanker is back at the fire, hall,
Tankers at the fire hall.
and there's no intermingled equipment at all.
And I understand as far as rescue is concerned, that we've got a number of vehicles that need to be rescued in that group. I'm sorry. Am I getting ahead? Sorry.
Okay, does anybody else have anything else to say about fire? I think there's a lot of fire guys back there. Anybody have anything to say about fire? All right,
The only thing I'm gonna say, for the rescue standpoint with the merger with the fire department, I'm gonna ask that be tabled for now. And not be looked at for a little bit of time.
I mean, I would agree with you that the chief is
Okay.
resigned and everything's hitting up people, and I think we need to stabilize before we start changing.
Well, and I know that a lot of the members on the rescue squad are on the fire department, but at the same time, I do not want my rescue members to be allowed to be voted the way the fire department votes. From the rescue squad standpoint of it, I feel like that's the way that we operate as a rescue squad right now, needs to stay the way it is. So, that's my only request from the rescue standpoint, is that we table that for right now. And
So is it my understanding you're going to stay with rescue, but you've resigned from
I
fire?
resigned from the fire department effective yesterday, and I'm gonna stay with the rescue. squad.
So are there only two people that are really separate from fire right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
And the reason rescue vehicles was moved from the fire hall is when I turned my stuff in, I no longer have a key to that facility, and the rescue vehicles need to be able to be accessed by rescue squad.
do you foresee building your rescue numbers again, or?
I do.
Okay.
I've already had a talk with a number of individuals that's considering coming to join the rescue squad that's not joining other departments here for their own personal reasons.
So they're not wanting to join fire? So you guys will be separate for a while then?
Unless y'all do whatever y'all need to do to make everything, but the way that it is right now, I do have people that is interested in coming to join rescue.
Uh-oh, we're moving away from the direction I think we thought we were going.
Address that going forward?
Yes. All right. Did you have something you want to say?
I was just gonna say,
And what's your name for the minutes?
my name is Casey Higgins. I was just gonna add that when you start, removing the wishes of some of the leaders that, have put a lot of these things into place. Trainings, the cross trainings, the logistics and the information that it takes to merge, you start tying their hands in a lot of situations. It's just gonna create division, and I think that's a lot of what we're seeing. I think it might take a lot, as if it wasn't a bad situation, trying to, the level of difficulty to get these two things to go together, I think it's just making it a lot worse. Probably built a lot of, discouragement, from a lot of the people in both departments. Killed morale, a lot of that was done just by failure to communicate. And, You know, it's just unfortunate. You know, both departments seeing it happen.
You seen a reason why we can't continue with the merger?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I believe we're having trust issues. I'm hearing a lot of things that I'm not agreeing with. And it doesn't matter, I don't have to agree with it, but I'm hearing lies, and I believe they're lies. I can probably prove some of them, but I believe that the leaders that be on the fire department are withholding information. Maybe.
I mean, there is no leader for the fire department right now,
We still. have
right?
assistant-
Is that what I'm at?
Assistant chief.
We've got assistant chiefs, we have other officers. We have captains, we have lieutenants.
So assistant chiefs are,
Well, I've got one sitting here beside me. We've got Ken Buckmaster, we've got Danny Sullins. We've got a safety officer, Mark Miller. Then we can talk about, you know, other people. We got, lieutenant.
Are you telling me that since 3:30 yesterday afternoon, rumors have swirled and this whole thing's coming apart?
I think that rumors and lies is what has, you know, ultimately built us into the division that we've created and
Since
caused our chief to resign.
3:30 yesterday?
No, sir. I think it started long before that.
So you're saying there was division down there already?
There's been division down there since I've been. And I'll speak to Jay's defense. And I know a lot of people thinks that I back Jay, and I do because I've known Jay for a while. But ever since Jay's took over that department down there, when he was appointed chief, he has had nothing but drug through the mud, discredited, talked about behind his back, made look like a horrible person on multiple fronts. I have watched political hit jobs and meetings occur with him. I've told him on multiple occasions, I don't understand how he's put up with it as long as he has.
Yeah,
And just watching how that man has been treated, I can understand why nobody would want to be a part of that department. It's why I left, because I got told that there was, and this is all rumor, but I got told the rumor was that I was gonna get voted off.
I mean,
I've tried very hard to mayors not to make decisions on rumors. I don't perceive Jay that way at all. I would think if you have division within a department, that a lot of that goes back to leadership and the ability to pull people together. And if you can't do that, you're gonna have division.
That was attempted on multiple fronts. And I can tell you that he tried in multiple fronts to get things to change.
But
He had people in place that tried to help him get things changed. But there's people that was going behind his back to commissioners, to former mayors, throwing him under the bus every time he tried to do something to progress the department.
okay, so here's where I'm at. Okay, he's resigned. It's water under the bridge. Moving forward, let's move forward in a positive way.
and I think communication is key.
Exactly.
You get together and you pull in the same direction. Yeah, that's what you do. Yes, sir.
Oh, I mean, I think you say we're moving forward. That's a lot easier said than done. I'm afraid you have a lot of people right now that are concerned or are contemplating their position on the department and how long they're gonna be, continue to be lied to and grow through the mud the way that they're being treated. And they're tired of the rumors, they're tired of the drama. And I'm afraid that if you try to just move on and let it be water under the bridge, that you're not gonna have much of a department in a couple of weeks.
Well, Jay was trying to make it move on and it wasn't moving on. And that's not being critical of Jay, but I'm saying at some point in time, you have to get everybody in the room. And you're not dealing with lies and you're not dealing with rumors. You're letting everybody kind of say what they want to say and then you move forward.
We tried that yesterday. I mean, we may have been a little bit reactive,
Mhm.
but we tried that yesterday. Many of the things that I personally had to say were nipped in the bud, not heard. And if you will, swept under the rug. I later asked, could we talk about this more? We had 2 calls yesterday during We had two calls come out yesterday during our conversations of team building and what are we gonna do next?
Well, with,
After returning from those calls, I said, guys, we need to sit back down and finish this conversation, because I was not done, and I know there's others that were not done.
well, and I think it's important that you do sit down, but I think if he resigned yesterday and you're already having meetings, that's premature to making this thing move forward, because, and you've used the word twice or three times, is lies and something else. You know, you gotta get all that out in front of everybody. You gotta
Well,
talk
it's-
about that. You-
And that's something
you-
for y'all to talk about as a department.
Yeah,
This committee has nothing to do with that.
this is something that's gonna have to come from you internally and not based on lies, and let's see, find out where we are. Exactly.
I mean, how would you suggest that we do that? Because we tried yesterday and it didn't work.
Well, I think again, with all due respect, you're kind of premature in calling a meeting together. I think that needs to be with possibly the mayor and whoever the interim we choose to do, and see what happens.
Our assistant chief called that meeting.
I'm sorry.
Our assistant chief called that meeting. He may have been premature. That, if that's the perspective we're gonna have.
They have one assistant chief or two, just
One of our assistant chiefs.
one.
But they all weren't there.
Sorry,
All the assistants weren't there.
they were.
Did you
I'll
have
be
something
glad
you
to
wanted
meet
to
with
add?
you. I'll be glad to meet with you, see what we can do.
Did you have something you wanted to add? Mr. Nolan,
Huh?
did you have something you wanted to add? You had your hand up a minute ago.
No, I didn't have it up, but I agree with what he was saying.
Okay,
Jerry had a lot of problems. First thing they had to do to correct it is the chief hires the fireman, not the department.
but that's not the way the charter is set up, is it?
That's why I was told they were gonna vote me off because the majority of them says I want to.
So then the process would be to change the charter. If the members don't like that, then the,
That's in the charter. I don't think. The chief.
I don't
the chief
know.
should have Authority to hire he wants to be the fireman, not the department.
yes, Mr. Buckmaster.
Charter says we will provide fire service and education. Doesn't say it beyond that, basically. The bylaws tell you how you are voted in as a member. Which is basically you have to participate in 4 trainings or meetings. That's just to prove that you really want to do it before we spend money for physical, drug tests, things like that. At that point, you're nominated. If you're accepted, you're placed on a 6-month probation. At the end of that probation, we can vote to extend your probation, we can vote to put you on full-time, or we can vote to have you removed. We've extended probation many times. In the history of the fire department, as far as I can tell, only one man was ever not voted on. And that man was not voted on because the day of the vote, he said, if you don't vote me on, I'm gonna cause you trouble. Which is basically, he threatened us. That was the one and only in the history of the fire department. As far as voting Mr. Harris off, I didn't actually hear that rumor, and I don't react to rumors. But the membership cannot vote a member off. Well, if they're full-time, we cannot. It is the chief's decision alone per the bylaw.
Let me ask you a question. If this worked so well for so long, why did it stop working?
What part of it?
Those members voting.
It never has stopped working. It's a fallacy.
Okay.
With rescue. 15 years ago, the membership voted the members on, they was fired. Then it changed to somebody appointed them. And people just showed up on the department. Fire didn't follow that. We just stayed with the membership voting. Again, not sure where the concern comes from. In over 70 years, only one person has ever been not voted on. He's actually a member now. He's actually still a member, matter of fact. A full-time member, and we haven't seen him in over a year. But we haven't removed him.
Fire is operated by a membership vote for about 95 years that it's been in existence. It was set up as an organization based on community volunteers and it's continued to function that way.
You know, when I met with Rescue a month or so ago, and then I met with Fire, and what I perceived was a strong desire among all these men who have hearts for this community to serve the community and have what they call the brotherhood. Okay? Because that's what drives volunteerism. If everyone's on the same page, same cause, same purpose, you know, there's no place for politics. No place for politics. And I find even in my job, that it makes my job a lot easier if I don't let politics get involved and I try to make decisions for the betterment of this county and for the betterment of the people. And when we lose sight of our purpose as volunteers, why we're here, and I talk to a lot of you guys love this county and you want to take care of people. Paramedics feel that way. When you lose sight of that purpose, that's when things start going off in different directions, and this person does this and this person does that, and I don't like that, and you lose why you're a volunteer. You lose sight of why you're a volunteer. And I've heard this cliche all my life. There's no telling what you can accomplish if nobody cares who gets the credit for it. And when we start looking for getting credit for things and doing it my way or the highway, then that's when the thing implodes. And I will call upon you guys to pull together here, because it's gonna be a mess if it's not.
Absolutely.
That's why, Daniel, I'm a little concerned about sensing that you're thinking about maybe pulling some people from the fire department to rescue, because that's gonna create division.
They pull in the way for fire rescue, they can be on fire department, they want to, as long as they want to be on rescue, they can be on rescue, they want to be on fire, they can be on fire. But I've moved the rescue vehicles are down here from down here,
Mhm.
so that people could have access to those vehicles. Expect me by turning my stuff in.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
But as far as taking people from the fire department, have I asked either one of you guys to leave the fire department? Come to my- come to my-
I understand what you're saying.
Did you have something you want to add?
I guess what's always bothered me, not bothered me, but I was wondered about was why you have a county department with an appointed department head by the mayor, but don't function under county policy. Everybody's other departments.
You talking about fire,
Yes.
Mr. Buckmaster,
You'd be good for that county employee.
volunteers.
I understand that, but there's still a department in the county, and it seems like we could work on something to make it work.
But they're not employees. And let me tell you something else I've learned, and I'm still learning, is, in other counties, there's always a tension between EMS and rescue and fire. And it's because you have so many alpha males involved that, you know, that like to get things done, and there's always gonna be that tension. But that doesn't mean we can't disagree and not be disagreeable, okay? We can disagree and well, I might have done it differently, but at the same time, stay focused on why you're volunteering, why you're here, is to take care of people in your county.
Would you agree in the last several years, we've probably been closer department wise between all public safety departments?
Good.
Probably.
Okay.
Guys come down and sit through their fire meetings, just to be there. It's not,
And we were all meeting together, doing things together, and, you know,
And now one man quit and somebody.
And
wants
it's-
to-
Craziness. Yeah, I don't
Oh, this is
understand.
how they've been for years.
I
It's
mean,
been like this for a long time.
And you know, and I had multiple conversations with Jay. I like Jay. I really like Jay. And I had multiple conversations with him, and I would ask him from time to time, Jay, is your heart in this? And he would say, if we keep moving forward, kind of like I'd like to move forward, it is, but if we're not going to move forward that way, it's not. So it's not like yesterday was a big event. It was some things that kind of been building with Jay, and I could sense his frustration. And I hate to see him go. I'll tell you, I still plan to be his buddy, I like him. He's one of the most affable guys I've ever met. I told him this funny story. When I was running for mayor, I'd see him up at the Early Bird, and he was always friendly and always nice, and I said to myself, this guy's gonna vote for me. He likes me. He didn't vote for me, he wasn't gonna vote for me, but he made me think he was, and we laughed about that yesterday. Great guy, but I think he was frustrated because things weren't moving at a pace he wanted them to move, and that's what happened.
Now, what are we gonna do about the engine?
I can decide that. I can point someone and I'll do that pretty quickly. I just want to get a little better feel. for what's
And then we will let things stabilize and then,
settle in, hopefully,
and then maybe figure out the legal process of combining it all.
and move forward.
Or not.
Yeah, because I think the interim person's gonna, I think. Either feel like it's gonna either make or break this process that we're going. Gonna try to go through this next little bit, because it could be someone that wants it to happen, it could be someone that doesn't want it to happen, and.
But I think, it's up to the members, to the volunteers, more than
That's the
anything.
situation's been in the past.
well,
So-
with the-
See if we
Mr.
can find a
Buckmaster?
consensus. We'll
Yeah.
try to find a consensus.
Yes, sir.
So just a couple of things. From my perspective, being involved in this the way I have. One, the fire and rescue murder probably should have happened 3 or 4 years ago. Again, it's gonna take some logistics, some planning, some training. Not gonna happen overnight. Needs to be done properly. Now, I will say that, say this, politicians don't need to make that decision because they don't know what they're talking about. And the second thing, Chief Jay Woodard's biggest problem and the dissension and the division was because of politics, not because of politics. That's where that came from. That divided many people a couple years ago, and it continues to divide those people. I told the mayor when he came to the meeting, the one thing that you gotta remember is politics has no place in emergency services. Too slow. And most politicians have no clue what they're talking about when it comes to emergency service. I'm sorry if that's offensive. But when you have a group of politicians who illegally meet to determine how they get rid of one guy to get another guy in there, you divide it. Now, I bowed out of that particular thing to stop the division. I even begged
Yeah, okay,
in a
we're
meeting-
just,
I even begged in a meeting for the group to come together. What I'm asking is, ask the groups, not me, ask the groups. Tell them what you want them to do and let them work it out. Continuing to say you need to figure out how to work it out is not gonna help these groups. That's just what I'm saying.
okay. Moving on to rescue. You mentioned last meeting vehicles.
Yeah, so, we got rescue one back. The motor is good with it right now. The problem we're having right now is electrical issue. I believe I have traced down the electrical issue and I'm in the process of fixing that tomorrow when I get off shift and I go back to work. But I will hopefully have that back. Currently, Rescue 4 is the only operational truck that we have that can run calls. All the extrication equipment for the department is in that one vehicle. I have no other vehicle to run calls with. I had to tonight, and it was my fault. I did not relay that to the members. It is being left to respond only to MVAs and to pull trailers in the building up here and not being used to respond for medical calls or manpower calls. Due to the fact that if a rescue member does respond with EMS to a medical call and they need to drive or ride in doing CPR or whatever, assisting the med crew and whatever, that truck is not left on scene and we have that equipment left there and an MVA come in somewhere else in the county and we don't have that extrication equipment available to respond. So other than that, just some emergency lighting issues on that truck, nothing that is deeming it Kubota UTV, that we have, it's, got the fire pump on it. So, it is operational on the trailer. The marine boat that we have, battery issue, it's with a boost, it'll start and run, as soon as warmer weather gets here. We're gonna, look at getting that out on the water and running it. We do have TWRA's boat up here in our rescue building. They put that in there 6-8 months ago. They asked to leave that up there. Anytime that we need that, we can do that. One of the things I am looking at right now is putting in for a grant for another boat due to the age of the current boat that we have, to see if we can get some funding for that. Out of service vehicles, that's everything that we've got in service that we can use. Out of service vehicles, we have Rescue 2. Again, EGR issue with it, engine compression issues, electrical injector misfires. It's the vehicle that I told y'all that it would cost more to fix it than what it's worth to fix. Rescue 3, which is the, I believe, 86, 87 big pickup truck, completely out of service. Engine can't do anything with it.
They can't get parts.
They can't get the parts for it. The pretty quick up here. They done the inspection stuff I'm looking at, and they told us we can't get it. We got a Polaris UTV. We got to get batteries for. It's not operational at the moment. Once you get it started, it's got some issues. We've got to find somebody that will work on that. Got a 4-wheeler that I think we've got fuel line issues with that. We've got to get that into somebody as well to get that doing. But those vehicles are kind of vehicles that we don't use that often. So we've kind of prioritized other vehicles of getting those fixed to get those on the road sooner, and then going back and looking at those vehicles towards the end to get those fixed where we can use those. As it stands with that, we still need to add vehicles to our fleet.
But you currently have how many volunteers?
I think there's 17, 15, 16, 17, right
Okay.
around there on the department.
And that's fire and rescue.
Fire rescue members, yes. The big thing is I'm currently going through the process to get my EMR instructor license through the state of Tennessee. Once I do get that, I'm going to hold an EMR instructor class here in Trousdale County to certify anybody that wants to become an emergency medical responder. That will give them a state medical license, so that they can respond on medical calls to assist EMS. So in the process of getting that, so that we can move that forward and provide more medical care and assist EMS, with the EMS shortage that is a statewide country.
Just to finish on your EMR stuff, we are gonna, through Fall State, have another EMT class here this fall. It'll be the hybrid class. It'll be an advanced and basic class together. So anybody that's interested, start advertising that before long.
We can pay for somebody, right? That's a county employee. That's still in place, right?
The way the resolution
Or
is written, have to be an EMS.
Okay.
So that was something that was talked about last year, maybe expanding that at some point, maybe to a certain number of volunteers or something that would be interested. Probably
He only spent his money himself.
Wow. Speaking on that, you would probably have quite a few volunteers take that. Because I know several of us last year were gonna take it until we found it wasn't gonna be paid for us. We're taking it for our community. We're trying to benefit our community by taking it so we can respond to help the community.
Are you on EMS?
I'm on rescue and fire.
Okay, I think it's just for the.
It's just for EMS.
That's what I'm saying, like us volunteers, there was several last year that was gonna take it. But we backed out because we found out it was gonna cost us like $3 grand.
Yeah, it's only for EMS.
I really think we missed a great opportunity last year using the American Rescue Act to be able to fund that for volunteers or for as many times as we could while we still had funding through that, not incur any costs for the county.
So
And that's
volunteers
gone
can
now?
take it, volunteers can do
They
it.
cannot.
They can take it, they just have to pay for it.
Correct.
Oh. gotcha,
Anyone can
gotcha.
sign up and take the class. The county just won't pay for it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
We will only pay for EMS employees is what the resolution says. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did we know that that was going on?
So,
That there was a possibility the volunteers could get it paid for, that funding?
well, it was being discussed, and I think, some committees with the mayor, the previous administration, looking to expand that potentially, I guess it never did happen.
Mr. Buckmaster?
At the time of the motion to approve the funds, I actually made the motion to amend that to include volunteers.
There you go.
I made that.
Mr. Higgins?
Just to add to that, I mean, you know, if we could at all possible help some of these, I mean, I paid for the empty classes past fall, I don't know, pocket, but if you know, we were able to pay for a few, to go to class, that might eventually, spark a interest in a new career in some of these guys, and that may fill your paramedic roles and promote within that you're needing already. And, you know, maybe investing a little here might pay off later. So,
And there's some of your part-time list people.
Sure.
No, is that a grant that comes around again?
So,
That,
no, that was the COVID American Rescue Act.
right?
I don't know what's left. or how long we have it suspended.
We still have some.
That's all.
So all you're doing when you do that is you're building your circle within.
We understand.
The,
Let me,
the big thing with the first responder side of things, and I don't know if I explained this the last meeting, and I may have, or when I had, at the end of that meeting, when I went through and told everybody that if you did not have a state medical license, that you could no longer respond on medical calls, that pretty much dropped down the first responder calls to myself and another paramedic that works an opposite shift at the same department. I do. There's, and Casey. That, and sorry. But as far as that first responder side of the ones that was able to go on a continuous basis, when that happened, that shut it down to about 2 of us, and EMS noticed a massive hit in having help on medical calls when they need that help.
Mr. Gully, did you have something?
Just thinking back on my memory of that actual motion and that actual process, one of the reasons volunteers were left out of that process is it was paying those county employees that were through EMS hourly wage as well as the course. So they went to the course, paid for the course, and it paid them an hourly wage as well, is the way the original motion was written. That's why it was left out of volunteers, because it was set to pay an actual wage. So we were, in other words, instead of asking that employee who was when I take off work to go or miss a payment to go to a class, we were hoping to get EMTs at that time is was the goal, if I remember that correctly. And that's why it was written in a form that left off volunteers.
you know, I'm really interested in the possibility of us creating an account within county government for the fire department to do some fundraisers, to allow them to offer some scholarships, to have more monthly meetings where they have food and again, this brotherhood thing, sisterhood, but to do some things like that, and we just never have had the creative initiative to do it, but I see that as a real possibility to do that. And you know, the people in this communities support you guys and they're for you, and I think you can raise some pretty significant money to do some things. We've got to figure out how to structure the account to do that, work it through the county. But anyway, yes, sir.
You just said a word that I've been told several times we couldn't do fundraisers because we're funded on Metro. I've asked that.
Well, if you're volunteer, you're not paid by Metro.
But I got told we went into another line item, not us.
Well,
I've been told several times that if we do a fundraiser, we can't do it, period.
well, you could set it up under a 501(c)(3), and there are ways, there are ways to skin that cat.
I think the new chief or interim chief, or that can be a discussion
Yeah,
that they can,
be investigated.
yes. Let's see. You have something else?
Just one thing I wanted to kind of touch with y'all, in regards to the vehicle situation. Is. We talked about an SUV for medical response, last meeting, something that we need, as well as a truck to provide additional pooling once we, get Rescue One up and going. I think we're at a point now, where we need to look at doing something fairly soon if we can. Talking with different dealerships and things of that nature, they're already running out of spots for 2024 government surplus or government pricing. And I know as it stands right now, I talked to Wilson Chevrolet, just to kind of get some information from them on it. They currently have trucks sitting on their lot that is available for purchase for government pricing. Looking at the SUV side of things, that can be something that we can push to a later time. But I think we're to a point this now where we need to look at a purchase
Vehicles, operational.
operational vehicles. Instead of having an extrication truck and one pickup truck, we need to have stuff where if we currently have a call out, I'm not gonna have to use my own personal truck and fuel to haul county. I will do it because it's what needs to be done, but I think that's something that we need to.
How's your budget
That's what I was
situation?
just looking at.
You got some money?
We've got $37,000.
Was that money under Mark Harmon? line?
No, his is in EMA. This is just rescue. and that is the unencumbered
I'm
balance.
sorry.
We could do a budget amendment, move it out of payroll to do a vehicle line item or whatever you want to make it.
That's
Did you guys ever make it up there with building?
I have not. They're,
Cause I knew that, Ray said that he was about to put that stuff up on, Gov.
from everything that I was told is none of that is. We don't have, other than some of the trailers or something of that nature, the majority of that was sheriff's department. It's all-
Anything to really is that was the sheriff's.
So that's all, pretty much all sheriff's
Yeah,
department.
no, I spoke with him about it,
I understand.
when we had the jail, presentation, so.
Not gonna be enough about jail.
it's.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But that's all the sheriff stuff. So it's not something that,
I spoke with the sheriff saying that, they, they have needs for equipment and things like that, and that's when he said, do it quickly because I'm about to put it up on, the website that we saw.
There's nothing there.
okay, well, that's that.
Any of the stuff that's out of service, could any of that be put on the,
Absolutely.
Yeah, the plan is to sell that equipment to try to put it back in to the purchase of a vehicle and the equipment to go on the vehicle. I mean, once you buy that vehicle, we're going to put the emergency lighting and things of that nature on it as well. And I,
makes sense?
yeah, so.
I would say if you want to talk about a vehicle, come back with some numbers next month. And we can see what happens. We'll see what the will of the body is. Anybody have anything else to add?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Sure.
we are adjourned.